Hello, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Mighty Emotions podcast. I know 20 might not seem like a lot. There's far more podcasts out there that have way more episodes, but I'm super proud to have made it to the 20th and still enjoy doing it and want to do it more. So thank you for everyone who lets me know that they enjoy the podcast and they share it with others. It means the world to me because it's not about me, it's about the message. And if the message resonates with you and you feel like it's helpful for you and it can be helpful for others and you feel called to share it, that is all that I could ask for. Thank you so much for the support and for sticking around for 20 episodes and hopefully beyond, because I have some fun stuff coming for season 3. Today's episode, I'm sharing the seven and a half powerful messages that my emotions have shared with me and how they have transformed my life and how they have transformed the lives of my clients and how they can transform your life. And so this was a really fun episode for me to record, and I hope that you take away some new perspective at the end of this episode. If you've ever wondered what I mean when I say our emotions are messengers and our emotions, have these information for us and have wisdom for us, I'm sharing the wisdom that I've gotten from my emotions in this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Mighty Emotions podcast, where we talk openly about our emotions so that we can have the capacity to receive more of what life has to offer. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm an emotional resilience coach, and my mission is to empower you and equip you with the tools to take control of your life by learning to master your emotions. If you're ready to eliminate negative patterns of avoiding and numbing so you can have inner peace, increase self-esteem, improve your relationships with others, and get more out of life, then keep listening. Hello and welcome back to the 20th episode of the Mighty Emotions podcast. Thank you to everyone who has supported me thus far. I still enjoy making these podcast episodes. I still enjoy talking with you guys and sharing what I have learned. And so definitely going to be coming back with more episodes in season 3. I'll be taking a bit of a pause while I get things sorted for season 3. But meanwhile, if you have any ideas about topics that you would love me to talk about as it relates to emotional intelligence, emotional wellness, mental health, anxiety, stress, anything really, message me on Instagram at mighty_emotions. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about. Boundaries, self-sabotage. There's the topics are endless because all of these things touch upon our emotions, and it's all part of the work that I do. It's all interconnected. So definitely let me know what you'd like to hear about, and I'm more than happy to make those episodes, because the whole purpose of this podcast is to bring value, is to deliver messages that you need, that I need, that we all need as human beings navigating this life. So definitely reach out to me about that. Getting into the meat of today's podcast, I wanted to talk about 7 key lessons that I have taken from understanding my emotions. 7 key lessons that my emotions have shared with me in the course of me doing this work over the past, over 7 years now, working with my emotions. And I'm making this episode because I hope that it will make it more concrete for those of you who hear me talk about our emotions being messengers and listening to them and taking aligned action. You'll know, if you're a past client of mine, what that means. But if you haven't worked with me one-on-one, it might be a bit of an abstract concept. So I wanted to make this episode and just share 7. There's way more than 7. There's so much more than 7. But 7 key messages that my emotions have shared with me. And hopefully something resonates in it. So without further ado, the first lesson that my emotions have shared with me is that I need support. And that might be like, oh, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. But it's something that I, for a really long time, didn't believe I needed. I became super self-sufficient, really hyper independent, and really that was just a mask for fear and the fear of being hurt by others because I had experienced so much pain from others. And so I became super closed off to any kind of help and support, and I didn't think that it was possible to get it. And when I tuned in and listened to my emotions, specifically sadness, I realized that my sadness was really telling me that I needed support because I need connection. Like all of us need connection. And sometimes part of taking care of ourselves is reaching out and allowing ourselves to receive care from others. So that's the first lesson that my emotion shared with me. The second lesson that my emotion shared with me is the importance of boundaries, and not just setting boundaries, surprisingly, but respecting the boundaries of others. And I did not realize until I started working with my anger how much violating the boundaries of others triggers anger in me, right? Not respecting the boundaries of other people. And so anger is a beautiful messenger because it reminds me to pause and reflect and see, am I violating someone else's boundaries here? Are my boundaries being violated? And there's so many different types of boundaries, which I won't go into this episode, but it's not always the physical, boundary. It could be mental, it could be emotional. There's so many different layers to it. So that's the second big message that I received from my emotions, anger specifically, is that boundaries are so key, and it's not always me needing to set them, but it's also sometimes me needing to respect the boundaries of others, because sometimes people don't know what their boundaries are and they don't set boundaries that they should, myself included. We all do this. We all struggle with kind of defining our limits or communicating our limits to others. And so sometimes my anger is the messenger to respect the boundaries of others, even if they haven't communicated it with me. So that has been huge when it comes to my relationships and improving that and owning my powerlessness over others, accepting that, surrendering to that. That has brought so much peace to me. So that's the second lesson. The third lesson that I would say is that I need to remember my power and my personal power. I need to remember to focus on the things that I can control, and that I need to tune in and check in and listen to what actually feels authentic to me and make sure that I'm being in my integrity. And a big part of this is the moments when I'm super anxious. This is when anxiety is flagging to me that I'm out of alignment. I'm not tuning in myself, especially when I feel super overwhelmed. It's usually because I'm spinning out, I'm absorbing all these external opinions and thoughts and stories, and I'm not checking in with myself. I'm not slowing down. I'm not listening to what feels right for me. And so that has been a huge blessing, to learn to check in, to slow down, and to ask myself what I need and what I think about things, right? Instead of giving my power away and outsourcing constantly. There's nothing wrong with seeking outside opinions and learning from others. That's so important. But when feelings of overwhelm show up and intense anxiety, they're usually telling me, hey, Check in with yourself. Slow down. Tune everyone out for just a second, right? Before you move forward, what's the right next step for you? So that's the third big lesson that my emotions have shared with me. The fourth big lesson that my emotions have shared with me, similar to this vein of remembering my power, is that remembering my power to make decisions and to make choices and to decide between different options, right? I'm never, completely powerless. Sometimes the only decision I can make maybe is to decide who I want to be in any given situation, what type of character I want to exhibit, but that's still a choice I get to make. That's still a decision of mine. And the emotion that flags this for me so often is fear. When fear comes up, there's this innate, instinctual need to control, need to take control, need to create a safety. And when I really listen to fear, I realize that it's me needing to make a choice. It's me needing to make a decision. Need to look at my options, weigh my options, remember my values. What is most important to me? And what do I control? And if I'm not in control of it, what are my choices? What are my options? And make the best decision that aligns with my values. And as long as I do that, I have been okay every step of the way. And I trust my fear. I trust that when it shows up, it's that, oh, wait a minute, you're not focused. You're not concentrating. You're not making a decision here. You're flapping around. You're flailing around. You need to make a decision. Look at your options, weigh them against your values, and then make a decision and take action. And ever since I really listened to my fear and I was able to internalize that message, it's made it so much better when the fear shows up. Because I'll never steer myself wrong when I choose based on my values, right? So that has been a wonderful, wonderful lesson for me. The fifth lesson that I have learned from my emotions has been that I'm not responsible for everything. I used to carry the world on my shoulders. I used to take on everything. Everything was my responsibility. Everything was my fault. I needed to do something about everything. And guilt was a huge messenger to me that sometimes there are things that I am responsible for. And it's good to be reminded what is important to me. And then there's times when I'm taking things personally and I'm taking responsibility for things that are not mine. And so guilt is a great messenger to just check in and say, hey, this isn't yours. Leave this over here. Don't get involved in that. That's not yours. That's not for you. Let other people have their stuff. Right? Especially when it comes to emotional responsibility, taking responsibility for my emotions. And by that, I mean, when my emotions show up, I'm not blaming you for causing that emotion. I'm just recognizing that there's something within me that's causing that emotion. And I'm becoming willing to work with that. So key. That's been so key. The sixth big message that has been so amazing for me to learn is that I get to decide who I am. That my identity is my decision. Now, when I say this, there's internal identity, there's external identity, but the external one I don't control. How other people see me is not my responsibility. Going back to guilt, right? But how I want to see myself, how I want to show up in the world, that is my choice. I get to decide what kind of person I am, and that has been liberating. because for so long I let other people tell me who I am. I let other people decide. I molded myself to be how other people wanted me to be. And shame, I ran from that emotion for so long. But when I finally listened to shame, I realized, wow, this is really about me discarding the identities that I don't want to carry, that aren't mine, and owning the identities that I do want to carry. And it's liberating in that sense because I define who I am. I know who I am. Other people don't get to define me. And until I listened to shame, I didn't really grasp that. So I'm really, really grateful for that, slowing down enough to really internalize that. And if you struggle with shame, I have a workshop on releasing shame. It's probably the most powerful workshop I've done to date. And I deep dive into shame and I explore it with you, and I share activities and journal prompts and exercises for you to do. And the way that I teach about shame is not like anything that I've seen out there because it's based on my intimate relationship that I've built over the years with shame and really understanding it and really diving into it. So I highly, highly recommend that workshop if you struggle with feelings of shame, if you struggle with your self-image and low self-esteem, as I did for so many years. Definitely go to the link in the show notes, and I'll put the link in there for you to access that workshop because it's one of my favorites. And that message from shame about just define who you are for yourself. There's so many stories that we absorb over the years about how we should be and who we should be, and all of it needs to go. All of it needs to go in order for us to evolve. So I'm really, really grateful for that lesson. And I hope that if you purchase the workshop, that you will gain some of that strength from it. And then the last emotional message that I've gained has been how amazing it is to fully, did I say fully enough? Be in the present moment. To really, with all of my senses, be engaged in the present moment. The gift of it, the gift of the tiniest little things, the ability to just be fully immersed in the present and what's going on. I have always been in my mind, in my head, out to lunch, in another planet, right? I have been just frustrated with impatience and disgust. And that's another lesson, bonus lesson, disgust showing me where I'm out of alignment with reality, where I need to come into the present moment. But joy, bliss, love, those emotions have taught me so much about the beauty of the present moment. Nothing extraordinary, nothing out of the ordinary, just exactly where I am right now, whether I'm by myself in the forest, or I'm with my daughter, or I'm with my husband, or I'm with my cat, or I'm with anyone that I love and care about. Just being there, just soaking it in and experiencing that connection to myself, that connection to something higher than me, to a God, to a higher power, to a divine. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And that message that I can access it anytime that I want, that it's there, that it's possible for me to access, has been such a gift for me, because I did not know what serenity felt like until I dove into this work, until I got intimate with my emotions. And I'm really, really grateful. I'm really, really grateful that I've been able to experience bliss and serenity and joy and love, and understand that all they want from me, the most aligned action I can take, is to be here now, to be in the present, with all my senses engaged in the moment. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing. So that was the 7 key messages, with a little bonus 8 in there that I have gained from working with and understanding my emotions. And if you are a client of mine and you go through my Getting Back to You program, then you'll know there's a lot more lessons that come through when we do a deep dive of each core emotion, and the perspective that you gain and the new outlook that you gain, both about yourself and your life and about others, is so powerful, is so transformative. And it really puts you in an empowered state of being, empowered to know that you can overcome things that you've gone through. You can finally process emotions that you've been holding on to, that you've been pushing away, that you've been pushing down, that you've been avoiding for so long. When we work in my container, we process those emotions. We release those illusions that are being recirculated and not being released. So you release that, but you also gain these tools and this knowledge and this understanding of your emotions that you take with you into the future. And the tools and the practices that you use during the course of this program, you continue to use afterwards. And the more you use, the more integrated you become, the more aligned you become, the more bliss and joy and positive emotions you feel. The more confidence you have in yourself, the more authentic you are in how you show up, because you know who you are. You own your identity. It's absolutely my favorite part of my work, is to watch my clients really integrate these messages from their core emotions and go from being so anxious and so overwhelmed and so burnt out and so afraid to such strong, resilient people who honestly are shocked for themselves. They're shocked at the transformation that they go through in such a short period of time. But it is so powerful and so profound. And I know, because that's been my journey. I know because these are the messages that have saved my life, that have transformed my life. And I'm always getting more, always getting more, always getting more. The more time I sit with and I notice and I honor and I listen to my emotions, the more I understand about myself, the deeper I go with this work. And then I share it with my clients. I share it with you and my community. So hopefully by listening to this episode, you understand now more what I mean when I say our emotions have messages. And if you are ready to go deeper and get support and explore what it can look like for you to work with your emotions, then go to the link in my show notes, check out my Getting Back to You program, click the link to book a clarity call with me, and we can talk about how this program can support you and see if we're a good fit for each other. And it would be my honor. I'm so honored when I get to work with people and I get to be a part of their journey in some small way. It's really you doing the work, but I'm just giving you the tools that I have gained and letting you run with it and guiding you and facilitating you. But it really is work that stays with us for the rest of our lives, because our emotions stay with us for the rest of our lives. And the added bonus is that when we understand our emotions intimately and deeply and we know how to work with them, our relationships get better, because we recognize the humanity in others and we see their emotions at play, and we see how they interacting or not interacting with their emotions impacts how they show up for us, and we can have so much more compassion for them. So that's an added bonus. But the real the real gift is that we understand ourselves so much more. We're so much more connected to ourselves. We're so much more in alignment, confident, assertive, and just have such self-love at the end of this program. So if that's something that you want in your life, book a clarity call. Let's get on and chat, and I can share with you more about the program, answer any questions you have. And if you're not ready, that's okay. I have a ton of free resources if you just want to do this work on your own, if you're just dipping your toe in, if you're not entirely sure yet, that's okay. But I hope that this episode at least gave you food for thought, at least allowed you to be a little bit more open to looking at your emotions and seeing that they're not the boogie monster, that they really are incredible gifts, intelligent messengers, and the best roommates if we allow ourselves to coexist with them. And with that, I love you so much for listening. I can't wait to see you in season 3. Thank you for supporting me thus far. And I will speak to you in the next episode. Bye.